hidden Air Force base that everyone denies actually exists. We have to remember that. Like, we all know Area 51 existed. In 1989, when Bob Lazar was talking about Area 51, it was officially denied. They pretended it did not exist. So they were flying him for sure to this place that did not exist.
That's right.
You know, and, you know, all the stuff with his background in the Los Alamos labs, how he's on the employee roster. Like, I mean, there's enough of his story now that seems to corroborate with all the things we're seeing that I think people that were skeptical should really go back and watch that documentary again. Just go. Your documentary is fantastic. It's really good too, because it was that of the podcast we did with him was a great opportunity to let him just expand on these things. And man, it doesn't seem like bullshit. And that's what's scary. What's crazy is if this guy's actually telling the truth and they're just spinning their wheels out there in the desert with these fucking UFOs trying to figure out what they are, and they don't get anywhere.
Everyone that we have talked to that's had some involvement with those programs, and we have talked to other people, all say the same thing, is that the excessive secrecy, it's so compartmentalized, so few people get to look at it and work on it, that they've made no progress. Every couple of years, they take it back out, give some other people a chance to look at it, analyze it, try to take a crack at it, and then they put it back and stash it back in a hangar somewhere. You know, in a sense, I think Bob Lazar might have been the perfect guy. Maybe not the most qualified scientist in the world, but obviously a bright guy who thinks outside the box and someone they could discredit.
Yeah.
They feed him a bunch of stuff in these briefing documents that make no sense or are hard to believe. You know, aliens see us as containers of souls. They created Jesus, things of that sort. And figuring he'll maybe spill it to John Lear or somebody like me,
right?
And then you could discredit him, you know. And
yeah.
He certainly was easy enough to go after.
Well, that's a tactic, right? You give out credible information along with a bunch of bullshit, and
yeah.
that person will say the bullshit, and then you could easily discredit them.
But you know, that kind of secrecy, and they're not making the kind of progress that otherwise if it was an open investigation, and they have a lot of big brainiacs who are tackling it, that they've never allowed it to happen. We hear that all the time, that they still have not made progress because of the excessive secrecy on it.
And also the material science. That's the other thing. Like I gave you that example of graphene, right?
Mm-hmm.
We do not have the ability to perfectly atomically print alloys in zero gravity yet, like here on Earth, right? So some of these materials, we are told, are so far advanced, we can't even begin to replicate the material science necessary.
No, let me stop you there. You're talking about materials that we've actually collected.
Yes.
So there have been examinations on materials that defy what we understand now
yes.
about metallurgy, right?
They're like
yes.
Adjusted atom by atom, like layers of an atom. We can't do that stuff. We can't do that. Or maybe we can in some advanced lab.
We will one day. I'm an optimist.
And who has this?
Government has it. Military has it. Lockheed, big aerospace companies like that have it. There are some pieces in private hands. Gary Nolan has some. Jacques Vallée has a couple of pieces.
Right. Some people, have been in position to try to acquire this. So there are some companies, right, that would love to get their hands on these, and they're actually actively bidding to do that. George has interviewed a president of one company that was really seeking those metamaterials to see if they can make an advancement on it. They're a great company. They want a UFO, baby. They want to study it. But I don't know.